So what I wanted to talk about mostly is how some careers actually, in a way, expect for us most of the time to shut down the emotional side of things, because I've learned and realized that in order for me to perform my duties correctly, the way that that's actually going to be helpful to the next person, I cannot afford to be emotional, especially at the moment. Yeah, that of course includes the first responders, nurses. I'm a nurse, so that's what I'm going to be talking about most. And police officers, they seem to be the ones that are really struggling the most, and I'm going to explain why. So the thing is, with me, I'm just gonna quickly take you through my journey with us so that you get a full understanding of where I come from. So with me, it only took me to be on this healing journey to realize how I've been shutting my emotions, like avoiding feeling in my work environment altogether. Yeah, and only now I noticed how not healthy it can actually get for me and the people around me. So let's take for instance, I'm gonna make an example. When I work in the emergency, so if the we mostly deal with emotions most of the time, because we also have to deal with the family, the relatives of the patients, and they are of course worried, which brings up a lot of emotions on their side, and we mostly have to be accommodative and understanding of that, which can be a struggle at times, and I will explain to you later how. So what I noticed with me per se is that when I started, like especially when I'm dealing with suicidal patients, people who come in after attempting to unalive themselves, and yeah, they are fully awake. Those patients, I would avoid the topic of how they got to be in the situation, what happened exactly to them to feel like they no longer want to be around. And I did this my whole career, and that was unexpected, I would say, because every time a patient would try and start with the story, I'll just try and change the conversation back to the part where I felt I can be able to assist. How are you feeling? Is your tummy sore? Are you nauseous? Are you feeling dizzy? And try and figure out how we can assist with that, because in as much as I was there in front of them, I didn't want to be listening to that, because I felt then I would have to take it home with me. It's going to stress me out. I'm going to be thinking about this the whole time, and I also have my own problems on the side to deal with. And if I then take all these type of emotions from patients, then how am I going to cope in my own personal life? Because I'm just going to be like in my emotions the whole time. And yeah, I can't afford to do that. And that's what I would think. And the more that I did it, and it became second nature to me, I realized my colleagues, they thought it's because I didn't care. And I also was at a point where maybe I believed that was the case up until recently, and this healing journey. And then it made me look back and think, what happened there? How did we get here? And I realized, okay, this is where it started. It was never because I didn't care. It was because I didn't want to. I thought I would have to deal with these issues, and I didn't want to carry anyone else's emotional burdens, if I can use the word. And it's going to be a lot for me, because I get to see a lot of those people. So now if I carry around all this, how am I going to cope in life in general? So that's how it started. And then now I've tried to stop my colleagues as well from asking them, because I'm like, bro, this person's going to like see a psychologist later. There's people who are more equipped around us to, speak to them and help them with that side of things. As for now, for us here at the emergency, we take care of the physical. The emotional side will refer to psychologist or psychiatrist. Yeah, so now that I'm in this journey, it just became so much easier for me to listen to them and honestly sit there and listen to what they have to say, and be empathetic towards them, and be understanding in a way. And it has also opened my eyes to how it doesn't affect me as much as I thought it would at that time. But it just showed me the whole point of how, when you are avoiding emotions, your own emotions in general, then you can't deal with any other type of emotion that's around you. You don't want to look into it. You don't want to experience any type of emotion. You just shut everything down. So that was probably what was happening, because now I listen to these people and it really, I do empathize with them. I do, spare thought for them from time to time, but I don't wallow in their misery, if I can use those words. So, and also because my healing journey requires me to be busy trying, noticing my toxic traits and how to, work on them and things like that. And the people around me, closest people around me, bring up those a lot, and I'm working on that. So I don't, they don't, their problems don't affect me as much as I thought they would. Which also opened up a question that I started to have when I started this career, because when I started it and got to be around nurses like that, not as a patient, as a colleague, it baffled me how mean we can actually be towards each other. It was a shock to my system, because I wasn't from home or school. I was from a working environment, a different one. But the people, it felt different. It felt like people are just always out to get you, or they hate you for some reason, or it's just spiteful and things like that. And it made me wonder, what? Because I had changed provinces to move here. Well, I thought maybe it's the culture here, maybe it's the people here, that's how they are. I was struggling to understand it. And then, I started working, and from following these social media accounts for nurses, even the ones from overseas and other countries, I learned we are mostly going through the same experiences. And there's a famous quote that I saw and I continue to see still nowadays, and it's only in those circles, nurses, social media accounts. It says, I'm just gonna put it up because it says a lot. There's a lot of bad language, so I can't really read it as it is. So I'm gonna show you what it says. And this is what it says. And it's not shocking to me, but it might be shocking to someone who's outside this career, because you would expect us to be loving and love people, and all those things, but the way that we treat each other, it doesn't most of the time reflect that. And so seeing this quote and seeing how it's in our circles made me realize, so okay, this is actually the observation made by nurses amongst each other. It's not the outside view, it's the internal view. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't use the same words, but I would totally agree with it, because it gets nasty and unnecessarily so, and which also brought that question in my mind, is that this career that draws this type of people with this energy or whatever, or does the career itself change you as a person into becoming that? And I didn't know what that meant thoroughly or thoroughly, but now where I am with my emotional journey and the knowledge that I've gained, I still have that question, but now it went deeper to a situation where I think, okay, was I able to survive all of this? The emotions that I need to shut down each other, because I came into this career fit in a way, able to. I know I did, because my childhood was traumatic, so it did inform me in a way and equip me in a way to be able to shut down emotions completely. So to me it wasn't too complicated or too difficult for me to do that. It was like smooth sailing. And for some other people to, or same for me, let's not say for other people, does that then lead into me being an almost heartless person, if I can use that word? Because with the knowledge that I have, I know how much suppressing emotions can affect you. Because if you shutting them down, you most probably need to shut down every emotion that comes, good or bad. You're just not into feeling things, and you don't want people around you that feel. It feels weird that people are feeling. You want to, because you most of the time you think you're strong, and everybody around you calls you strong, and you take pride in it. So in a way you expect other people to be able to do it, and when they are in their emotions, you get irritated, and you're like, why are you like that? Why are you so weak? Why are you weak? That's what most people avoid to feel safe, because it feels weird to you that people are behaving like this, when there's better, you think you better. When there's a better way of handling things, you believe it's the best. And just to make an example of how this happens in my workplace. So I work at the emergency. I'm sure it happens in the other units as well. They have different experiences, but there is still a whole lot of emotions that you need to deal with, either from the patient, the relatives, your own, and it is an emotionally charged environment, but it I don't know if I'm right when I'm saying it requires you to shut it down a bit, maybe for that moment. Maybe you can deal with it later if you know how to, and allow yourself to. But at the moment, because it's not about you, it's about the person that needs help that's in front of you, so you have to make sure that they get the assistance that they need. And in order for you to be 100% in that, your mind functioning 100%, somehow your emotions need to take a back seat for a second. Let me give you an example. So if we have like a patient that comes in, maybe brought in by the family, because that's really uncontrolled. When they come in via an ambulance, then it's better. But if you have to come and go and fetch a patient from the car, they're not breathing, you start with dressers, you bring them inside the unit, and you have to sometimes call other people who are not around and things like that. And there's an emotion that most of the time overtakes you, of panic. we get to panic. And when that happens, things don't normally go very well. So we have to try and find a way to calm ourselves down so that we can concentrate on the job at hand. And I wouldn't expect someone who's not in this environment to understand this. So I'm gonna explain a bit further. So if I've been in resources where we panic a lot, and you find someone or a doctor who has put up a drip her whole life. Anyway, all of a sudden they put up a drip and it's not working, it's not running, and she doesn't have any problems doing this. And then later someone will figure out, oh, it's not open. And small mistakes like that we can't afford to have, because someone else's life is at stake. And that really only happens when we are in that panic mode. Once someone else from outside the environment or one of us calms down and is able to bring us down to their level, then things run really, really, really smoothly. So in a way, you do have to manage your emotions, and in order for you to be able to concentrate. And there is that feeling of sadness, if I can use that word, because you are dealing with someone's life. You're looking at this person, maybe they're full-term pregnant, and that baby's life that's at stake here as well, and you can't help but feel something as well. But you can't really break down and cry at the moment. You have to concentrate on the job at hand again. And I think that's where it gets really hectic for us, because then you continue like that maybe for the rest of the 12 hours, and you get home, you're tired. You never really get time to process those emotions. So you are in a way suppressing emotions, and unfortunately they are going to come out and in negative ways, and it's gonna negatively affect the people around you, the people who are around you most of the time. So yeah, that's one of the situations that we have to put the emotions on the side and deal with the issue at hand. And we do need to do that to be able to be successful in what we do. And I know it's very tricky, because for me, what I do most of the time, I like sing a song inside, just humming and stuff, just to help myself with those emotions, because I can see myself almost feeling like trembling, because it's not an easy thing to do, to be able to suppress emotions as well. Your body is going to have a reaction to it. So one way I then try to soothe myself is to hum a song, and sometimes it does come out. And in that situation, when I'm singing like that, if a relative is around, it's most probably gonna look like I don't care, because I'm putting on this brave face and I'm trying to soothe myself so that I can concentrate and get the job done. But to the next person, it's like, she's singing and my father is there not breathing. The hell was wrong with these nurses? And I'm not trying to make excuses about bad behaviors that are going on in the medical field, but there is situations where we also need to find a way to soothe ourselves in order for us to function properly. Hence, most of the time you find us asking for the relative to excuse us so we can be able to work. We're trying to, in a way, eliminate the emotional side of things, because when you are standing there emotional, what we are doing as professionals, because you're not in the same field, even if you are, but at this state you are in your emotions, you won't be able to think the way that we think. And we can't, unfortunately, we don't have time at that moment to explain it to you that this is why we do this is why we have to hold them like this, so that we can be, quick about it. There's other ways, but at this moment, because we don't have time, it looks like it hurts, but believe me, it's for the better. Take, for instance, when you are busy doing compressions, the ribs do break. And to me, I know I can feel that rib breaking. Sorry for the graphic content. I can feel the rib breaking under my hands. But because I have to concentrate on the life that I have to bring back or save. Not bring back, but save, if possible. So the rib is a minor issue at that moment. But for a relative to hear that sound, it's a different situation altogether, because it is an emotional situation for them. It is for me too, but mostly for them, because they are emotionally connected to the person that I'm dealing with. So, in as much as people don't, they feel like we're trying to chase them away, or we're hiding something, or they don't trust us because of their past experiences, we understand, but it gets very tricky, very, very tricky to be able to manage their emotions, your emotions, and also try and get the job done. So if we can eliminate whatever emotions we have to eliminate in that environment, then it makes everything so much better, not just for us, but for also the patient, because we need good results. And now to go back to the point where I was saying, like, I experience the meanness from each other when I first started out as a student, and when I started working, I remember feeling like I need to change this career. I'm not going to be able to live like this, only because of one person who really went out of her way, making our lives, not just me, everybody who was new in that unit, everyone who was not permanent, working under an agency, she went out of her way to make your life amazing. And I didn't notice it then that was the problem, because to me it just felt like nursing as a whole is just, I can't do this, I have to find something else. And then I got a job somewhere else, and then when I got there, I felt relieved, and then I realized, no, it's not nursing, it's just the people and the environment I was in. But then as time went by, then I started noticing the same type of negative behavior from my new colleagues. And then it brought up the question again, is this career like just attracting people like this? Are they changing as they're here? Am I still going to change and be this mean and horrible to people? What is going on? Is the stress too much? I don't know what's going on, but whatever it is, it's I don't know if I'm gonna last. But because I'm that person strong, if I can use that word. I don't like that word anymore. I handled it pretty well, and you learn to stand up for yourself and tell people no, which is something that I wasn't able to do before. Even my family, when they visited me later, now they see me as this person who like just storms of foot at me, stands up for herself in situations. They're like shocked, because they know me as this tough person who grew up just letting everybody walk over me. But all of a sudden, it taught me to toughen up, if I can use that word. Again, I don't like it. Okay, anyway. And then I continued, of course, to see on social media. I still see today the nurses posting stuff about how unhappy they are with their work environment. You see them, crying and stuff. You can see it's hard. And when you go and read the comments, you see a lot of people who are telling you, "Yo, I couldn't live like that. I had to change careers." And I'm like, huh? What's going on here? And yeah, it brings me to that question: how are the ones that are surviving? Because even most of my colleagues, I know there's some who cope with alcohol and stuff. They soothe themselves with alcohol. And yeah, because I have like close ones who tell me that I always have to have alcohol in my fridge, wine, ciders, whatever they enjoy to drink. And one was even telling me that when she gets home, her daughter knows that if she sits down or does something else before grabbing her beer from the fridge, she knows then it's her duty to bring it to her. If she's too tired, she gets home and sits on the couch or on the bed or wherever, or starts taking off her uniform, then she knows she then has to bring, because it's just like that. She needs it to function. And I am not judging anybody. I take coffee. I can't cope without it. I know I'm not, allowed to get to work or have coffee or whatever. But if I'm in a situation where maybe let's say I'm working in triage, which means I'm going to be the one that's sorting out patients as they come in, then I need to be there. If I get to work, maybe I'm already late, I didn't get there on time, and I need to release the other person, I know if there's a patient there waiting for me already, I'm not the friendliest nurse that you will find in the morning. Because once I have my coffee, then I'm this chippy, high note, high spirited nurse. Because I know you're already down and feeling bad. I don't want to give the energy that I'm also feeling like that. I want to be able to, pick you up in a way. So even my tone changes when I'm there. I want it to be a bit, pick me up. I don't want to be like, come on, because I know you're already feeling like that. And it's not about me, it's about you. But before I have my cup of coffee, I struggle to even put on a smile. I have to get that cup of coffee, and it's for survival. And then I'm the nurse that I'm required to be after that. And I remember someone that I'm seeing now, when I had to visit, he said, what drinks do you need me to get for you? And I'm like, coffee. If you have coffee, just have coffee in your house. Nothing else. And then he was struggling to get the type of coffee that I drink. And then he got the other one. I'm like, yeah, I've had that one. It's nice, but it doesn't really have the happy ingredient. And he asked, what do you mean by that? And I was like, I'll explain it to you later when I'll have to look at you in the face and explain it. I can't now. Because I was struggling to find ways of how does this particular coffee have a happy ingredient, because that's what I experience when I drink that coffee. Happiness. And then I'm able to share that happiness with my people. And I've just learned recently of how that is a chemical reaction and hormones being released and yada yada yada. Same as people who are addicted to food or drugs and other things. So it was not in my mind that coffee has an ingredient of happiness. For me, it's not for everyone. For you, if you don't like whatever that coffee is making release on your brain, and then it won't have the same effect on you. So we do have coping mechanisms, apparently, but bad ones, not healthy ones. And I would like to put it out there to the professionals, the people who have studied these things, to do more research for us, the police officers, the first responders, on how to cope with our daily, because our jobs is our daily lives, in order for us to be able to manage emotionally, because it doesn't only affect us and our families and partners or whatever and colleagues, it also affects our patients. So if there's any research done out there, I don't know if any, please share with me if there's any way that can help us cope with this. I mean, like a functional way, because I mean, in most workplaces, I know in my workplace there's counseling and things like that available for us if you need it, but we never, hardly ever, knock in those doors looking for help or to speak. And sometimes they even come to us after maybe a traumatic event and they want to know how we're coping. And none of us is actually interested in sitting down and talking to them and telling them exactly how we're feeling, because we are not going to be dealing with emotions. It's not happening. Yeah, we're just wired like that. I mean, by practical examples on how to deal with, like, in a situation like the example that I made, you have a research, this. We do have debriefings afterwards, after the research, but there we're discussing where we went wrong, how can we improve, and yeah. And just to add on to the example that I was making about the research, because I was saying we all like trying to soothe ourselves in a way and calm down the emotions and be able to focus. Chatting to each other is one of the ways. Now, how far can we take this is another something else, because we get into the chatting because we're trying to get everyone here, take them out of the emotions. Let's leave the emotions on the side. Let's maybe talk about cars. And I know it's horrible if there's a family member around or another patient hearing this, like the other guy was talking on TikTok about his bad experience. Now, I'm not saying that was good for him to hear, but it could have just started as, for them, a way of coping. And then how far you take it also depends on how aware are you of your emotions and the people around you. Because if you're not in your emotions, you can easily take it all the way and be laughing and in situations like that, sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, it was started by someone who meant well, who was trying to get everybody out of their emotions, out of the sadness, and talking about something else that's totally different from what's happening around here is one of the ways of getting people out of their emotions. I'm not saying it's right that we do it like that, but we need to find practical solutions on how to do this from professionals who have studied this and looked at it, so that we don't get to offend the relatives and the people, other patients who are able to hear us talk and see, because we are there for them. It's about them more than it is about us. So whatever we are trying to do to soothe ourselves, to cope with the situation, it must not affect them negatively. But we do need some coaching and help from professionals on how, because emotions can easily lead you astray once you get into them too deep, whether negative or positive. So I'm just gonna put it out there, please. And this does involve the police officers, because they seem to be the ones that have it worse. Because the word out there, every time on social media we see a police officer losing control emotionally in a way, people, you should see the comments. They're always talking about how traumatized these people are, how we as women need to stay away from them because emotionally they're not in control. And I'm no expert or anything like that. I think it has a lot to do with the type of the situations that they get faced with at work, and they shut down those emotions and they never open them up to deal with them. Also because of continuity and whatever else that's happening in their lives. Excuse me. So yeah, and I had a first-hand experience with this with my ex, my baby daddy, who's an ex-police officer. There was an incident where he just lost control, and there was nothing I could say or do to calm him down. I tried. It was like I was talking to a different person. He totally lost control. And because I was also in my own emotions, I was so disappointed and embarrassed and sad about the whole situation. It was the worst experience ever. And then when later I was talking to a close colleague about this, she asked, what type of a job does he do? And I'm like, he's an ex-cop. And she's like, but you know those people are traumatized. And it clicked to me, wow, so we're not the only ones, because in my mind it was like, it's us, we having it worse. And I thought to myself, these people are actually having it worse than us. Because imagine, I know there's no measurement for emotions and things like that, but imagine you get called into a crime scene as a police officer and you find a child there who's been sexually molested or something like that, and maybe they've been, sorry about the graphic content again, they've been stabbed, and you're a father, a brother, an uncle, and now because you have a job to do, you must figure out how to find the perpetrator and things like that. You don't have time to get into your own emotions and feel how that whole environment is making you feel. You know, you have a job to do. You have a responsibility towards your community, the people that you agree to serve. And you can't now be them in the situation. You have to do your job. You can't just crumble down and cry with them and roll on the floor. It's not gonna work. You need to keep it together. Get the job done. Maybe deal with this later. But do they ever? And I know they do have help as well, social workers and stuff in their work in places to help them deal with it. But do they ever take the opportunity to do that? And maybe they still have to continue and tell the relatives of the situation, and I'm sure you feel like crying too, but you can't cry with them. You have to be the one trying to comfort them in a way and getting the facts straight. And I don't know if you can do that while you're crying. And let me tell you, we get so used to shutting down emotions that it might look like most of the time we don't care. I'm not saying that the experience that you had and you felt like the nurses or the medical staff didn't care is wrong. I'm not saying that. But there is situations like that. I know for a fact that in cases where it looked like maybe I don't care, I was trying to cope mentally with the situation. And yeah, and I know this I'm going to make another example. When a child comes into the emergency and I'm a triage nurse, it's not nice dealing with children because they don't understand the environment. They associate it with pain, reasonable so. They've been for immunizations and things like that, so they just see your uniform, all the environment, and they start screaming. And now it's difficult to even get the vitals done and stuff, and you can't even hear yourself speak to the parents sometimes to get the information. And through when I started out, I really didn't want to deal with. I would get palpitations the minute I go there and find a child, until later when I learned of ways of how to deal with it. And the first biggest way that helps most of the time, not all the time, is when you also get the parents to relax. Get the parents to relax first, and then as they relax, then the child can relax. And telling them to relax is not going to help. They're going to freak out, because there's this element of them coming in worried that we're going to charge them for bringing the child. Maybe there's nothing wrong with the child. So if I'm telling them to relax, it sounds like to them, I mean it's not necessary for those type of emotions. Whereas in my mind, I'm trying to get you to calm down so that the child can calm down, so we can get to work. And this is, of course, in situations that are not life-threatening, like immediately. Because, of course, if they are like that, then I'm not going to have time to get the parents. I'm going to get the child and get the child the help that is needed with as little information as possible. And we can sort out the other stuff later. But in that situation, I've learned to also calm myself down, get the parents to relax, in a way by a relaxed voice, relaxed body posture, and telling them that it's a good idea, that they actually care. I like to voice that out, because then I don't want you to misread my body language as I don't care. I have to communicate with them that it's actually a good thing that they are here, but be relaxed so that I can get them to relax. Then we can get the child to relax so we can get to work. So that's one of ways where we deal with high emotions, because if your child is involved, then the parent, of course, is worried, as they should. And let me tell you from experience, I can tell when people who are not the mothers bring in the child, because if I start running and panicking more than you, it clicks to me. How are you related to this child? Even if you're female, I'm it's gonna bring that question up. And then when I later see them, I'm walking in all pale. I know that's the mom. You don't need to tell me. So yeah, it's a highly emotionally charged environment, but it requires me as the professional to not be in my emotions, and we need to find ways on how to deal with this before it's already out of hand, I believe, in a way. Because if we're having nurses behaving, or doctors, or whoever that works there, behaving in this manner, that makes it looks like we don't care, or when we actually showing behavior of not caring or not caring. And then there's a problem in this environment because care is one of the main ingredients. And we don't want to send a message out that we don't, no matter what we're dealing with or what's happening.